So what I did is I collected the 15 most common questions young people ask me all the time. I'm going to give you my opinions and my real answers, real talk from someone who has been broke. I've been buried in debt, and I was able to climb out of it and become financially free. And I also have a background in finance and economics. That's what my degree is in. Question number one, how much of my paycheck should I save? And to me, in a perfect world, if you're able to set it up this way, I think you should pull 20% off the top. So when I make the numbers round, and I just use, if your family income was $100,000, I know for many of you watching this, it's not. But if it was, I would say you could pull 20% off the top. Now, when you first start off, you might have to do a little bit less. Ideally, as you start to make more money and you get in a better financial situation, I'd love for you to even do more. But the biggest key to all of this is you have to do it off the top first, not pay all your bills and spend all your money and do it at the end. Do it at the beginning. And even if that means you can only do $50 a paycheck, consistency over time and starting as young as possible. If you save what's left over at the end, you're not going to have anything. So again, consistency and long-term doing this is going to beat perfection every single time. Okay. Question number two, should I pay off debt or should I invest first? And this is a big one I get all the time. And here's the answer to that one is this. If you have a bunch of high interest debt, credit cards, car loans, student loans that have high interest on there that are say 10% or more, and many of these might even be 20, even 30%, you've got to pay those first before you invest. But if you just have maybe a mortgage on a house or some sort of low interest debt, then depending on what your situation is and what your dedication is, your consistency would be, and how motivated you are to do this, you might be able to do a little bit of both. I always did both at the same time, especially when I was in that massive amount of debt. So you can do both, but here's the thing. Debt is like investing and having compounding happen to you in reverse. And when it happens against you, those rates are typically a lot higher than what you can earn on your investments. So again, to me, you've got to get that debt paid off first, especially if it's high interest debt. But again, you can do both at the same time. It just depends on your certain situation. But I was always leaned towards getting rid of debt and then investing because negative compounding is just a horrible thing. Question number three I get all the time is, do I really need a budget? And as much as it sucks, yes, you do, but only for a short amount of time. And really what it is to get some control so that you know what money is coming in, what money is going out. And really it's for the short term, because as you're able to make more money and that spread happens between what you're spending and what you're earning, then you're going to be in a much better situation. But really what we want to do is build habits on where we're spending. We want to build automation into our system. And then we also just want to know where the leaks are and places that we're spending money that maybe we shouldn't be, or we didn't even know we still were, or maybe things that we were paying $20 a month for are now getting more and more expensive. So if there's things on there you don't need, then we want to get rid of those things. So you definitely do need a budget, but we're going to talk about another video about creating a modern budget and doing it for the short term so that you're not having to micromanage this stuff for too long. Question number four, how much should I have in my emergency fund? And I hate calling it emergency fund because really what you just want to have is some cash reserves built up for whatever you might need it for. But again, like we just talked about, if you have debts, let's get rid of those first. A starter goal might be $500, $1,000. I'd like to see you have more cash reserves built up. And part of it just depends on how reliable you think your income source is. If you're someone who has a job that you've been at for a long time and you feel like there's pretty good job security, you might be able to get away with having, say, more of a 3 months of starter money or emergency money built up. For someone like myself who's a realtor and my money sometimes comes in waves, I might make a lot of money one month and not a lot of money the next month. I like to have more of 6 to 12 months of reserves, and I do it separately. So like if you're an entrepreneur, you should have separate reserves for your business and separate reserves for your personal. But again, you want to be prepared because the idea is once you get out of debt, you don't want to go back into debt. And so the more you can have built up, the better. But let's just start off with say $500,000 and just start to build up that to whatever your comfort level is and not worry about what some other person might think you need to do. Question number 5 is, should I invest in crypto? And to me, I would never tell somebody not to invest in crypto, but here I think of crypto as more like gambling or Vegas money. And to me, if you're doing your 20% off the top, like we talked about earlier, and you're living on that 80%, and you want to take some of that 80%, like 5 or 10% of that of your portfolio and try to go into crypto, or even if you want to do things like individual stocks, which all these things to me are a little more risky and a little more like gambling, you can do that, but not as your regular foundation. Start off with basic index funds and do your Roth IRA and your 401k, or even real estate and go into those assets. And to me, Crypto's like a little extra thing. So it's not the main course, but it's something that you might add on later. So I would never say not to do crypto, but it's just something that I don't think that people should do until they are well down the road into getting their financial house in order. Question number 6, what's the best investment for beginners? And it's funny I put this question right after crypto, because to me, for the long term and the conservative things that I would tell people to do is this. Open up your Roth IRA or your 401k if you have one through work, and there's pros and cons to both of those. And then just invest in some low-cost index funds, something that can mirror the S&P 500. If you're not sure how that works or what that means, we can explain that to you in another video another day. But you want to focus on time in the market, consistent investing, and not trying to worry about if the market's gone up or down or how to try to time the market. Just keep putting money in there long term. Use dollar cost averaging to your to your advantage into your investment portfolio, and then just keep doing that. And once we get our big ducks in a row, we can worry about doing some other things later. Question number 7, how do I stop living paycheck to paycheck? And that goes back to what we've been talking about already, is that damn budget that we got to do. And early on, for a short amount of time, 30, 60 days, we want to track every dollar. And if you don't like tracking every dollar going forward, go and do it backwards, because most people now, everything is on either a credit card, you're swiping from your checking account, and then you can kind of see what subscriptions, where am I spending money that I shouldn't, what am I eating out too much, and you can just cut all the crap out of your budget. And then, of course, another good way to do this is, I hate to use the word side income or side hustles because I'm not really a fan of that. I'm always a big fan of trying to figure out how can we make as much as we can in our main hustle. So let's focus on those first. And then if you do pick up some side jobs, or you're thinking, I don't really like what I do and I want to start a new career, so I start working on something on the side, hey, that's great. You can do that. But, focus on the main thing and make that the place you can make the most money. Again, automate it. You're saving and you're investing. So your income goes into your checking account. It automatically goes to all the places that it needs to go to. And for many of you, you don't need a raise. It's just really figuring out how to make a better plan and managing your money appropriately. If you're someone who's thinking about getting your financial journey started, do me a favor. Click the link in the description below. It'll give you a list of our top 11 things that you must do to get started on your financial journey. Question number 8, what is a Roth IRA and why should I care? And what a Roth IRA is it basically an individual retirement account. You see people use 401ks. It's kind of the same thing, but there are some benefits to both. And a Roth IRA is this. I make $1. I pay taxes on my money. So let's say I had 80 cents left over for my $1, and I start putting money into my Roth IRA. You can open up a Roth IRA at Fidelity or Schwab or any of those kind of places. And then what you'll do is put your money in there and we can invest it. Like we talked about in an index fund, an S&P 500 fund. But what's nice about that is if you start this in your 20s and you do it for the long term, all the gains and money you make on that account when you go to take it out down the road, you will not pay taxes on. So your Roth IRA can easily turn you into a tax-free millionaire down the road. And if you start this young, my daughter's 24, she's on her second year of doing this. And if you go to the investment calculator and look how it works, you literally start young enough and just keep putting that $7,000 a year in there. That's the max you can put in a Roth as of the time of shooting the video. You will have millions and millions of dollars if you literally did no other investing. So if you can find a way to invest $7,000 a year and start in your 20s, I promise that alone and not going to debt will make your finances so good you won't even know what to do with yourself. Question 9 is, how do I build good credit? And in reality, the only reason you need credit is to borrow money. Sometimes even when you apply for a job, you might need credit. But here's the thing. If you use secured credit, like a credit card, or you have a home loan, or even if you're just paying your normal utilities on a regular basis, how to build good credit is just saying, I pay my bills in full every month. I don't overextend my credit. So if I had a $10,000 limit on a credit card, I don't always carry an $8,000 or $10,000 balance. You want to keep it kind of to 30% or less. And if you have an old card that you worked really hard to get paid off, then once you pay it off, if you need to have a good credit score, just don't close the account. Cut up the cards, get rid of the cards, but leave the account open just in case you ever needed it. And really the reason you want good credit isn't about buying more things. It's just being able to get yourself a lower interest rate when you borrow money for a house or something down the road. And I was talking to someone the other day and they actually pull your credit if you want the job. It was at an insurance company. They're going to pull your credit and it just really shows you're a reliable person. So again, there's a lot of reasons for good credit. Ideally, you're not having to borrow a whole lot of money. And so just be smart about how you're building up your credit score. Question 10, is renting a waste of money? And for those of you that have watched my videos, and if you go check out my real estate channel, I've been a real estate agent for 25 years, and I would never tell you that renting is a horrible thing. Sometimes, especially when you're younger, renting gives you flexibility, it gives you freedom, it gives you the ability to be able to move quickly to another city if you needed to, but it is not a long-term wealth building strategy. So you only want to buy if it makes sense. You only want to buy if you plan on being in the same city or community for a long time, and you want to own real estate for the long term. So renting is kind of the price you pay for flexibility. And a lot of times in today's world, you could actually rent homes for cheaper than what you could buy them for. But owning is being able to have control, being something that you can work on long term and make it yours. And what's funny is if you lock your payment in, it might be less affordable right now to buy than rent, but you might wake up 5 or 7 or 10 years down the road and your house payment is a whole lot less than what renting is. So just know renting's a short-term strategy and buying is something more for the long haul. Question 11, how do I start investing with a small amount of money? And again, we talked about it earlier in this, but if you go to Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, or even places like Robinhood, you just want to start the process. And even if it's $5 or $10 or $50 every time you get paid and you start investing in some index funds, you don't need a lot of money to start. And again, if you look at those investment calculators, you will see how a small amount of money over a long period of time will make you a lot of money, and just set it up automatically. So when you see these videos and they give you all this grief about don't buy a $10 coffee or a $25 lunch or a $50, whatever it might be, because it's small amounts of money, those small amounts of money will add up over time. So just get it started and get it set up to run automatically. Question 12, how do I make more money without getting a second job? And I always say, let's make the main thing the main thing. And I would say, talk to your boss if you have one and go say, what skills, what things can I do here to be able to make more money? Is there overtime available to me? Whatever it is to be able to try to make more money in your main job, I always think starting there. And if you hate your main job, then you can go do some sort of side hustle. And whether it's creating a side hustle to create a new career for yourself or just picking up some side jobs, like I've got some friends of mine that literally house sit or they dog walk, or because I'm a real estate agent, I'm able to find side jobs for people, either helping them move or trashing out houses. There's lots of ways you can pick up a little extra income versus having a complete second or side job. But I always think make the main thing, and try to make as much money as you can there, and talk to the people at your job to figure out how to do it. Or if you do own your own business, then you got to figure out ways to try to generate more revenues and just go from there. Question 13, how much money do I need to retire? And this is a really good question you get all the time. And here's kind of a general rule. Part of it is depending on what you want your retirement to look like. I talk about my two moms all the time, my mom and my stepmom, and literally their lives couldn't be more different. One of them in retirement is worth millions and millions of dollars, and one lives a pretty low lifestyle. And again, they created the life they wanted to live, but they're both retired. They both don't work. They both live a life that they're happy with. And here's kind of the general rule though. Depending on how much money you need every month to live on. So let's just say, for example, you wanted to live on $50,000 a year. Then typically what you need is 25 times that invested in the market. So that'll kick off enough investment portfolio money for you to live your life. So if you wanted 50 grand a year, times 25, that's $1.25 million invested. So if you started a Roth IRA when you were in your 20s and that thing had $3, $4, $5, $6 million, you are living well beyond that $50,000 a year you need. But really, it's kind of like whatever you want, 25 times that is what you need invested. And again, those numbers are going to seem huge when you're in your 20s and 30s, but I promise, it will build up and will be a lot more than you think. And again, your expenses should be a lot lower when you're older because hopefully you already own your house. And again, it's not about retiring. I hate the word retire. It's about getting to financial freedom. And the younger and sooner you can get to that, then you can work because you enjoy it. It's part of why I still sell real estate, because I like doing it. I don't necessarily need the income from it. I just like to help people buy and sell real estate. Question 14, why do rich people seem to get richer? And the answer is because they use their money to do a few things. One, to buy back their time, to own assets and multiply their income. So when they save, they're not just saving to put money in an interest account and earn 1% interest. They invest it to try to create more income for themselves. And again, we talk about budgets. They budget at the beginning, but then they build systems over time to what I always say, make your money make money, or make money while you sleep. And the more ways you can generate passive income flows, whether it is interest from a high yield savings account or money in your retirement accounts, or eventually as you get further along, whether it's buying real estate, rental real estate, or again, other investments, those are the ways that the rich keep getting richer, because they're not just clocking in and clocking out and just collecting a paycheck. They're finding other ways to make money. And question number 15, what's the number one habit that changed your life? And this is one that people need to understand, because when I was younger, you couldn't do this and now you can, is you want everything to happen automatically. So what happens is you earn income, goes into your main checking account, and then you're going to have automatic transfers into your investing and saving. You're going to have automatic transfers to pay off your bills every month. You're going to have automatic transfers. So money's going into all these different accounts, whether you're saving up for a house or a car or whatever it might be. And when your money moves out, you happen to think about it, it's just go to your job, earn your money, it goes in your account, and you set everything up to kind of move around the way it should be. Then your wealth will build up slowly but surely. And then as you're checking into that monthly or quarterly or biannually, you'll start to see how your assets keep building and building and building. So you don't need to be some sort of financial genius to win at this. What you need to do is just stop ignoring your money, learning as much about financial literacy you can, and stop waiting for this perfect timing to start building. Like, I don't have enough money to start. If you have any money, you can start. So whether you're in a horrible financial situation, you're broke, whether you have lots of big debts, or you're just starting out from ground zero and your net worth is even, the sooner you start and the sooner you can take action and escape this 9-to-5 grind, the better. And again, we don't have to figure it all out in one night. Just act, do one thing at a time, and you'll start building up these small wins. And that is how wealth is built over the long haul. So if you have other questions that we didn't answer here today, reach out to me, DM me. I'm happy to talk to you. Or if you even have some questions because your situation is a little different based upon what we talked about in these examples, reach out to me. Happy to help you answer your questions, and reach out anytime.